In 2022, the pace of innovation started to pick up again after the pandemic, and we're expecting big things for 2023. In this video, we're going to look at 9 of the top things we think will define road bike tech in 2023. Come on, Crystal Ball, don't let me down. SRAM has been spearheading the electrification of its group sets with the top 3, Red, Force and Rival, all coming in wireless ETAP Axis versions. Last year, Shimano launched 105 Di2, an electronic version of its third-tier group set, which was originally a set of budget components designed for leisure as well as sport riding. It was a gateway group set to what were, and still are, regarded as the serious ones, Dura-Ace and Ultegra. 105 Di2 costs about twice as much as the previous mechanical version, but despite that, the transformation of more low-end group sets looks set to continue, with new patents recently discovered to suggest SRAM is about to launch an electronic, wireless version of Apex, its entry-level road group set. There will undoubtedly be a jump in price, and in the middle of a cost of living crisis, where does that leave the rider who wants a lightweight, good quality, mechanical group set? Cannondale's SmartSense system, which has integrated lights and rear-facing radar that are charged by a single frame-mounted battery, got a mixed reaction by the bike-buying public when it launched the new Synapse endurance bike in 2022. However, Cannondale is persevering and said at the time that most future Cannondale road models would incorporate some level of SmartSense compatibility. Cannondale then launched a SmartSense-equipped Topstone Carbon, a gravel bike, but for 2023, we're fairly certain we'll see a new Cannondale road bike, and we wouldn't bet against Cannondale sticking to its promise. It's also likely that more manufacturers of road bikes will start to think along the same lines as Cannondale. E-bikes have all this integration for the sake of convenience and confidence, so if it can be made lightweight enough, why not road bikes too? We don't believe Shimano will completely leave its less well-off mechanical-loving customers in the lurch. SRAM still offers one-by-mechanical versions of Force and Rival, and we imagine will probably keep a one-by-mechanical Apex once the ETAP Axis version is launched, and so we wouldn't be surprised if Shimano introduced a lightweight, sophisticated mechanical group set aimed at impetuous amateur racers. Dura-Ace, Ultegra and 105 are 12-speed, so what about a 12-speed mechanical 105 group set? We can't believe Shimano would leave 10-speed Tiagra as the top mechanical group set, and it's been indicated that the older 11-speed mechanical 105 would only continue to be manufactured for the time being. It also seems likely that Shimano will simplify the lower non-series group sets for better clarity on compatibility, so we expect a refinement, perhaps based on how many speeds drivetrain components are designed for, perhaps Shimano 7 and Shimano 8 phasing out Tawny and Claris, for example. The Vast R1 is made from a magnesium alloy that the manufacturer claims is lighter than titanium, stronger than steel, and priced competitively against aluminium. It's also easier to recycle than aluminium, and Vast is focusing even more on lessening its environmental impact with fibre-based, plastic-free packaging. For a first effort, we were really impressed with the Vast when we reviewed it, but what we're really excited about is where Magnesium will go next. This really could be the frame material of the future, particularly with its eco-credentials, which will play an increasingly important role in the bike industry in the future. Things have been very quiet on the Campagnolo front recently. There was nothing new of note in 2022, with Shimano going semi-wireless with Dura-Ace and Ultegra and now 105 Di2, and SRAM ETAP possibly to feature in 4 of its group sets next year. Campag must surely be planning a wireless group set or group sets. Or, and maybe even, and 13-speed for the road. Campagnolo traditionally has been one cog ahead of the others, so will it port over some of the 13-speed sprocket tech from 1x to 2x Super Record, Record and Chorus? Perhaps the Italians are designing something really huge, a 13-speed wireless Super Record? Surely that would be pretty spectacular, and we would love to see that. Imagine an 1123 straight through block, a time trialist dreams, and it would look amazing. We've been seeing wider road tyres made possible by the move to disc brakes. But how wide is too wide? Well, Wilbrand Parkour's Dov Tate said he thought there was no need for a tyre wider than 30mm as long as roads don't get any rougher. After 30mm, tyres are heavier, likely to be less aerodynamic and more importantly, are not yet manufactured. The all-road sector with its mixed terrain starts to take over from that point, although Continental does make the Grand Prix 5000 STR in a 32mm. So it could be that if the industry settles on 28 or 30 as the standard for the road, there'll be no need for frames to be designed with clearance for 34mm tyres, and we could see fag paper clearances returning to dedicated road bikes. It's fair to say that 2022 was the year when 3D printing properly arrived. Filippo Ganna's Pinarello track bike that he used to break the hour record had a 3D printed aluminium frame with aerodynamic features very difficult to make using standard manufacturing methods. Metron, the British company headed up by the designer of UK sport track bike Dimitri Katsanis, worked with Pinarello to produce the bike and is itself fully invested in 3D printing. Cycling Weekly reviewed a 3D printed skeleton-like stem this year that, although it didn't actually offer any performance advantages, it demonstrated that 3D printing is at the stage where it can be used to safely make any part of the bike. At the Bespoke show, we saw how 3D printed lugs, or yokes, are fairly standard in the custom bike sector, where it now works out much cheaper to 3D print a very small number of items that the frame builders can design themselves than any other manufacturing method. And still, carbon, titanium, and aluminium can all be 3D printed. With the UCI's relaxation of the 3-to-1 rule, we've been seeing some deeper tubing on the latest aero bikes such as the Trek Madone, Scott Foil and Cervelo S5. But wing shape profiles don't flex like round tubes do, at least not in the direction that helps with ride comfort. So we've seen the bike designers actually removing some of the material from seat tubes to make them a bit more compliant. The Scott Foil RC has a cutout at the rear of its seat tube that's filled with a fairing to preserve the aerodynamics that allows it to flex, while the Trek Madone simply has a hole called the ISOFlow, which serves a total of 3 purposes. It's claimed to improve aerodynamics, reduce weight, and increase comfort. Giant played it straight with its new Propel, relying on carbon manufacturing for the necessary give in the tubing. But it seems as though we're leaving behind the era of the cookie cutter carbon bike and entering an era where designers are getting imaginative again. And we're sure to see some wild new shapes in 2023. In 2022, we got a very special version of the Super 6 Evo, which was a lighter version of the existing bike instead of the brand new one we were expecting. So, 2023 has to be the year of the new Cannondale. Will they merge the Super 6 Evo and the Aero System 6 like Specialized did with the SL6 and the Veg? Either way, it promises to be something pretty interesting. Will it have chunks of the frame missing in order to make it lighter, faster, and more comfortable? Well, that remains to be seen. Other trends look set to carry on, such as the switch back to threaded bottom brackets, those integrated cockpits that are being designed so they're not quite so devilishly difficult to work on, and rim brakes, well, they don't seem to be making a comeback anytime soon. What do you think though? Do you think we've missed any trends out? Let us know down in the comments below. If you've enjoyed the video, then please do drop it a like, subscribe to the channel for more content, and we'll see you again very soon.